Okay, so here we have a point given in polar coordinates, and we have to turn it into rectangular coordinates. This is a skill we did a lot, whether it was in with vectors or complex numbers. And so I hope you remember from Con that you can always just, here's the angle of rotation, right? So this is, if we're thinking of this as a picture, it's an angle rotated, or like a vector rotated 5 pi over 3 degrees, right? With a magnitude of 4. So to convert it to rectangular coordinates, all we do is multiply the magnitude times the cosine of that angle for x, right? And then for the sine, it's just the magnitude times the sine of that angle will give us the y. Will give us the y coordinate, okay? And for each of these, 5 pi over 3 is just almost 2 pi. It's in the fourth quadrant here, right? This would be, the pink shows you the rotation of 5 pi over 3. So that's just pi over 3 short of 2 pi. So I always like to flip things up into the first quadrant. So I recognize that the cosine of 5 pi over 3 is the same as the cosine of pi over 3, right? Because the x values are both positives. Value of cosine is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. And I know from the unit circle here that the cosine of pi over 3 is just equal to 1/2, right? The x value on the unit circle when you've got the rotation of pi over 3. So this is really just 4 times 1/2, or 2. And then over here, we have the sine of 5 pi over 3. Now, the sine's negative in the fourth quadrant. It's the same absolute value, but positive in the first quadrant. So I use the first quadrant, pi over 3, but I put this negative out in front because really, it's sine over pi over 3 is going to give me the wrong sine of 5 pi over 3, sine of 5 pi over 3. I just have to use this negative to correct for the fact that they're going to be the same absolute value but different signs. Okay, so then I just go back to my unit circle and I say, well, sine of pi over 3 is just the y value, or square root of 3 over 2. And then I multiply that by -4, and I just get -2 times the square root of 3. And that's what the rectangular coordinates, the x and the y, that we find over here. You would just write them as a point now, 2 and -2 times the square root of 3. So I hope that helps with that one. This is number 13 on the sample.